Welcome to The Explainer, where we break down big ideas. Today, we're digging into something that, honestly, is kind of pulling the strings behind the scenes in our careers, our relationships, our whole lives, really: emotional intelligence. For decades, we all sort of thought that IQ was it, the absolute best predictor of a successful life. The higher your score, the brighter your future, right? But what if there's another factor at play? Something way more powerful that has less to do with what you know and everything to do with how you act, how you connect, and how you bounce back from failure. And this is where we get to the huge difference between IQ, your classic book smarts, and EQ, which you might call people smarts or, emotional intelligence. So while your IQ is all about learning and reasoning, EQ, well, that's a completely different, but just as critical set of skills. So what even is EQ? At its heart, it's about making your emotions work for you instead of against you. It's the skill that lets you feel a wave of frustration, and instead of just hitting a wall, you can say, okay, this feeling is a signal. It's telling me to try a different approach. You're basically turning emotional data into smarter decisions. Okay, let's dive into this. Here's the game plan for our explainer today. We're going to start by mastering our inner world. Then we'll move on to the art of connecting with other people, figure out how to build up our resilience, and finally, I'll give you a simple plan to kickstart your own emotional intelligence workout. It really all starts from within. Before we can even think about understanding or influencing other people, we have to get a handle on ourselves first. This is the absolute foundation that everything else is built on. So the very first building block is emotional self-awareness. Think of that like your own internal radar. It's not just about noticing, hey, I feel angry. It's about digging one level deeper and realizing, oh, I feel angry because I feel disrespected. See that? It's connecting the feeling to the why, and that's the first step to doing anything about it. And you see this skill in action everywhere. Think about someone like Oprah Winfrey. Her incredible self-awareness is what lets her connect so authentically with millions. And then on the flip side, you have a movie like The Manchurian Candidate, which is this terrifying look at what happens when there's a total lack of self-awareness, where people are just manipulated because they have no clue what they're truly feeling. Okay, so building on that awareness is something called self-regard. Because let's be honest, it's one thing to know who you are, it's a whole other thing to actually like and respect that person. And self-regard isn't about being arrogant, not at all. It's about having a quiet confidence because you have a solid sense of who you are. A perfect real-world example is the Dalai Lama. He just radiates this calm confidence that's totally rooted in self-acceptance, not ego. And then you see the struggle for self-regard in a movie like The Good Girl, where the main character's entire journey is about fighting through self-doubt to finally see her own worth. All right, so once we get a decent handle on our own inner world, how does that actually play out with other people? Well, the next step is taking that understanding and using it to connect. This is where self-awareness becomes, well, kind of like a social superpower. And the key to all of this is empathy. Now, empathy isn't about feeling sorry for someone. No. It's the ability to accurately read what's going on with them emotionally. It means you have to shut up for a second, actually listen, and try to understand their point of view. Here's a really powerful way you can actually practice your empathy. Try to fill in the blanks of this sentence for someone else. You feel because. It forces you to get out of your own head and really try to step into their shoes to figure out what they're feeling and why. But connecting isn't just about understanding others. It's also about expressing yourself and doing it effectively through assertiveness. This is that sweet spot, that crucial middle ground between being a doormat and being a bulldozer. It's about stating your needs clearly and with confidence. And look at these two amazing examples. You have Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., who used nonviolent assertiveness to literally change a nation. He stood firm on his principles with this deep respect. And in the movies, you see it in characters like Erin Brockovich, who just relentlessly fights for other people's rights without ever backing down. She proves you can be tough and effective without being a jerk. So, we've got self-awareness, we've got social skills, but what happens when life throws a curveball? When the pressure is on and things go wrong? This is where resilience comes into play. This brings us to stress tolerance. Look, our brains are still running on this ancient fight or flight software that was designed for, like, spotting a tiger in the bushes. The problem is today, the tiger is a passive-aggressive email or a looming deadline. High stress tolerance means you can face that modern-day tiger without letting your internal alarm system completely hijack your brain and your health. And this isn't just some feel-good idea. The stakes are incredibly high. A study from Johns Hopkins found that people who had the angriest responses to stress were over 6 times more likely to have a heart attack by age 55. This stuff isn't just a mental game. Poor stress management has serious physical consequences. So what can you do? Well, there's a super simple but unbelievably powerful technique called deep center breathing. It's a way to consciously hit the brakes on your nervous system. By just shifting your breath from your chest down into your belly, you send a signal to your body that the crisis is over, and it breaks that whole fight or flight cycle. But here's the thing. Resilience isn't just about gritting your teeth and enduring stress. It's also about actively choosing your outlook. And that's where optimism comes in. This isn't about pretending problems don't exist. It's about truly believing in a positive future and in your own ability to help make it happen. And this might be the most powerful takeaway of all. Your self-talk basically creates your reality. When you have a setback, what's the story you tell yourself? Is it, I'm such a failure? Or is it, okay, that approach didn't work, let's try something else? That second story, the one that sees the problem as temporary and solvable, well, that's the engine of resilience. All right, we have covered a lot of ground. We've talked about all these core skills of emotional intelligence. So the big question now is, what do we do with all this? How do we actually start getting better at it? Honestly, the best way to think about it is like a simple workout plan. You don't have to do everything all at once. You can just start by focusing on these 4 key areas. Making a habit of checking in with your feelings, intentionally trying to see things from other people's side, using your breath as an anchor when you feel stressed, and actively working to reframe that voice in your head. And if you remember one thing, please let it be this. This stuff isn't about who you are, it's about what you do. Emotional intelligence is not something you're just born with or without. It's not set in stone. These are all trainable skills. And just like any other skill, with a little bit of conscious practice, you can get better over time. And that really brings us to the final thought. Developing your emotional intelligence. It's a journey, right? It's not a destination. It's about building up a set of muscles, one by one. So the only question left is, where are you going to start? Which one of these EI muscles are you going to choose to train first?